Aloha and welcome to the Bear Woznick Adventure coming to you from Waikiki Beach. It's a beautiful day here in Waikiki. We finally have the first surf we've had in almost a month. It's been a bit of a dry spell here. Normally in the winter, we don't get the big waves on the South Shore. They hit the North Shore. But what we have got hammered with is volcanic fog. The volcano on the Big Island is booming right now. And so when the wind shifts, all of a sudden we look out and people think I've never been in such a smoggy city, But we're here in Waikiki, right next to St. Augustine's Catholic Church. We'll be right back with more of the Bear Woznick adventure.
Welcome to the Bear Woznick Adventure. Kickstart that engine and roll thunder with the pack. Explore the grittiness of manly spirituality. Gain traction in the virtues. Soup up your spiritual engine by turning adversity into adventure. Now here's Bear Woznick. Let's ride.
Aloha, welcome back to the Bear Woznick Adventure. My wife always likes me to start the show off by doing the sign of the cross in Hawaiian, that ancient sign of the cross. Ke makua, ke keiki, a me ke ohana, he malele, in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Uh, she's also been an inspiration to me for so many of my books and the direction of the books. And my new one that won't be out now for a little while, Men of Grit and Grace, Daily Challenges for Men to Chew On. Sophia has got it, and they're going to be releasing it, I think, in a few months. But I thought instead of doing my normal monologue, I would just read one of the daily challenges, and so although we're recording this on January 31st, I don't know when it will be released. The recording. This is the January 31st daily man meditation. Yes, well, no, well, maybe, and that's final. Jesus had something to say about that kind of wishy-washiness. Let your yes mean yes, he said, and your no mean no. Anything more from that is from the evil one. That's Jesus, as you know, construction worker and church builder. The only thing we ever know that he really did build, by the way, is the church. We don't know if he made a chair or a house. We just know he was a technon. He was a builder. But we do know what he does build, and that's the church. In my book, 12 Rules for Manliness, Where Have All the Cowboys Gone? I write this. A cowboy's word is his bond. A cowboy contract was bound by looking the other man in the eye and simply shaking his hand. The cowboy's word meant that he could be counted on to tell the truth, not mince words, shoot straight, and say what needed to be said, when it needed to be said, to who it needed to be said, and only to who it needed to be said. He could also be counted on to say no more than what needed to be said. If you're not willing or able to do something that is asked of you, there is no need for you to give a long explanation or endless excuses. Just say, no, I can't, or no, I won't. On the other hand, if you're willing and you are able, just say, yes, I will. Frankly, you and I both know everything beyond that is just puffery. And then my wife told me to end all these morning man meditations with the words chew on it, because, she is a cowgirl. We have with us today, not a guest, but a good friend, someone I really respect, Navy helicopter pilot, bull rider, man of God, Christopher Gokey. Welcome to the show again, Christopher.
Hey, aloha, Bear. Hey, I'm glad to see you again, my friend.
Yeah, why don't we talk about first of all how we came to know each other? It was really a godsident. It really truly was.
I like that God confident. It truly was. I was stationed in Hawaii. This was back in was that 2020, I believe, and I was getting ready to go on a deployment. So I checked out of my apartment. I broke my lease. I was going to be gone for the better part of a year. And about 1 week or so after I broke that lease, I think it was a week, I'm not really sure anymore, but it was shortly after the COVID pandemic hit. And of course, the deployment got delayed and everybody had to quarantine, but I no longer had anywhere to live. So I was looking for Airbnbs And I found a place online not too far, maybe a couple blocks from where my apartment was. And I forgot what I was inquiring about. I think I might have been inquiring about the parking situation because parking in Waikiki can be weird. And I had a car.
Yeah.
And I emailed the host to check on the parking. And when you open up the chat box to email the host, it'll have the host name at the top, and it says something along the lines of, write Bear Woznick a message. And I was just kind of floored by that because I would listen to your show all the time on EWTN, and I was always a fan. And to be honest, I guess it never really dawned on me while I was stationed out there that, I mean, we're probably within close proximity of each other,
Yeah, within
and
about a 2-minute walk.
yeah.
Less, yeah.
So I think I even asked on there, in addition to the parking, are you the same Bear Woznick that I know on EWTN? Kind of in a sarcastic kind of way, and you said something along the lines of, "Well, how many Bear Woznicks do you actually know?" or something. But it was pretty funny. So then we met. I rented your place for about a month, and in that month we became pretty close friends, didn't we, Bear?
Yeah. Oh,
We
yeah.
the pandemic was going, so we were doing uh, daily catechism meditations in the morning,
Yeah.
right out. Yeah, we're doing it right out front of St. Augustine's Church there, and I
Yeah.
think we were also dedicating a prayer at the end, a decade of the Rosary, in praying for the intentions of opening the churches back up because they
Right.
were closed down. There was a
Yeah.
Eucharistic famine, if you will, there on the
Oh my
islands.
goodness. What a great way to say it. That's exactly right.
And well, I think those were your words at the time, to be honest. And
Wow.
yeah, yeah,
I
that
stole
was
it from,
you. I'll give you full credit for that
I
one.
think I probably stole it from an early church father because I don't have any original thoughts. I
but
don't know.
but yeah, during that month we became great friends. The pandemic continued on, but they did open the churches shortly after that,
Yeah.
and we struck up a really good friendship, and that was really just the divine work of God.
I remember we occasionally, I have cigar nights here in my house, as you know. And the guys are all Christians that come. Well, not that we have non-Christians come, but a handful of Christian men come, and my wife does the best hospitality in the world, with food. And we have some of my man cave cigars, and we're all sitting in a corner, basically solving the world's problems together. And then someone asked you, what's the hardest thing to do? Because you're a golfer, very good golfer, powerful golfer. You're a bull rider and a helicopter pilot and a surfer. And we asked you what was the hardest of all those things to do, and you said golfing.
Yeah, that's definitely accurate. Golfing is it's the hardest, and also a sport that I haven't played in a few years because it's so hard.
What? Well, you
So
learned how to golf out in the I think on a farm or something, right? In the big
yeah,
tall
I
grass.
did out in the cow pastures where I would strike balls out there. I golf became one of those things where something in my life had to go. I was involved in too many things. I'm still involved in too many things, and I just think what brings me peace and what doesn't. And golf got to the point to where it's funny to laugh about, but it was destroying my peace. You spend one day a week, for 3 or 4 hours playing golf, and if afterwards it ruined my weekend thinking about it, then it's probably not healthy
Do you
anymore.
want me
So
to
I,
tell you the secret to that, Chris?
yeah,
Is remain like me, a bad golfer.
that's right.
Then you don't get frustrated because you just like, oh man, I hit it on that tree and it bounced into the rough over there. That's going to be fun to try to get out of that wilderness. And so I take it, that's kind of the way I do. But you and I have the common background because I had my first experience of swinging a club on a farm too, a cow pasture. When I was a little kid, I was probably 4, 5, 6 years old, maybe 7. My uncle showed up, and my mom and dad were from the Dakotas in Minnesota. And for a couple of years, we lived in Valva, North Dakota when I was just coming little kid. And my mom said, "We're going." Her said, "Bring your." He said to her brother, "Bring your golf clubs. We'll go golfing." So he gets his golf clubs on and his golf shoes on, and my mom puts on her hiking boots. and jeans, and we go up on this little hill, and there's like a little 9-hole course, and it's actually a cow field with those certain kind of hazards you would only find in a cow pasture, and the greens were just packed sand. So you and I both started golfing in the same place. We're talking with my friend Christopher Gokey, who, when we come back, we're going to talk more about, some of his life story, his how God drew him deeper, and we're going to talk about manliness and brotherhood. We'll be right back with the Bear Woznick adventure. Schoolofmanliness.com is a place for men of grit and grace to join together to inspire, to encourage, and to challenge each other to grow in manly virtue. Members receive morning man meditations, a monthly curriculum that is rich with audio, video, and written content, and a trail guide to help you map out your new trajectory. Many of our members lead their sons through this same curriculum. Your membership gives you access to both the Man Cave, which is our non-Facebook type community, and the School of Manliness at schoolofmanliness.com. Become a member at schoolofmanliness.com. Deep Adventure Ministries is grateful to Notre Dame Federal Credit Union for underwriting the Bear Woznick adventure on EWTN. Notre Dame Federal Credit Union provides car loans, mortgages, SBA loans, and depository accounts nationwide, as well as 24-hour support. Go to deepadventure.com to find their link, or go to NotreDameFCU.com. Mahalo to Notre Dame Federal Credit Union for making the Bear Woznick adventure possible. My newest book, 12 Rules for Manliness, Where Have All the Cowboys Gone?, has hit the top 5 in Christian books for a good reason. It's because men are searching for traction and a trail guide to live out the unique calling and the gifts that they were born with, that each man individually is factory loaded with by God. Paul said, "Be watchful, stand firm in the faith, act like men, do all things in love." Finally, here is a book that talks with men the way men talk with each other. Just plain old straight shoot. By the way, Mama Bears, this is your chance to get this message to your men. Go to schoolofmanliness.com or anywhere books are sold. 12 Rules for Manliness. Where have all the cowboys gone?
This is a warning. The Bear Woznick adventure is dangerous. The radical change Bear challenges you to is not for wimps. Change this station now to a soft rock station before it's too late. You've been warned. Now, here is Bear Woznick.
Aloha and welcome back to the Bear Woznick adventure. My book, 12 Rules for Manliness, Where Have All the Cowboys Gone?, is such a cool book. It's like, when you're a dad and they go, which one is your favorite kid? You go, well, they're all my favorite kids. You can't choose, but you love your kids and you brag on them. Well, for an author, a book is kind of like that. And this book, my wife inspired the subtitle, Where Have All the Cowboys Gone?, based on that one song maybe you're familiar with. But this book's talks about the 12 rules for manliness, and it really is like two men sitting. You know what it would be like, Chris? It'd be like you and me leaning over a fence post, looking into a corral. Men really don't look at each other much when they're talking. They look away. So it'd be looking at the cows or the mountainside or something, and maybe having a cigar or something, and we would just get real with each other and talk about, deeper things. And that's the way this book talks. It doesn't talk about politics. It doesn't talk, it's not overly, it's deeply, deeply spiritual, but it's not that kind of fluffy spirituality. It's just very manly. And you think about the early church fathers, right? And Jesus, and, none of those the primitive church, none of those people were Ned Flanders on the Simpsons, right?
That's right. Yeah, I read your book I think it was about a year ago. I finished your book, and I'm due to read it again. There's a lot of good nuggets in there, and I really think any young man that reads that, I think is going to find something in there for them. It can speak to so many different people from different avenues.
But talk about that. There's this like a resurgent of among young men looking to join the military, and you're a Navy helicopter pilot, and to join the Catholic Church. Why do you think that's happening?
Well, I think throughout history, things ebb and flow, and we went so far the other way with these, different, whether it's, feminist movements and a lot of, not to bring politics into it, but very left-leaning, progressive ideas. And at some point, there's going to be some kind of resistance to that. You can only go so far one way or the other before people start to wonder whether or not we're going down a different path, and they want to see what else is out there. And I think that's attracting younger men to possibly come back to their Catholic faith or discover their Catholic faith in true manhood.
And Satan hates God the Father. He
That's
hates
right.
him. Satan's a punk. We know that. He runs his kingdom just by intimidation. No one's loyal to him. But he hates God the Father, and he hates fatherhood. And we've seen really since the pill back in the 60s, there began to be this breakdown in the family. There was even the statement, you don't really need a dad. You just need a donor to provide to become pregnant. And men were more and more and more isolated and despised and mocked, and it just got to that extreme. And it's because, and when you take the father out of the home, you get chaos, which is what we're seeing in the
Right.
streets today. My son went on a mission trip to Nepal, and he went into the jungles, deep into the jungles. He had to hike into the jungles. I mean, I would have never let him do it if I knew where they were taking him. So they went into the villages where they lived in, the grass type huts or something. And as they got closer to the village, they saw men stationed in little like hunting like platforms way up in the trees. And when they got in, they said, "Oh, those are our lookouts for elephants." And they go, "Why?" I mean, and they had an elephant come through that little bitty village. And they said because the poachers have come in and killed the older male elephants for their tusks, and the teenage male elephants are out of control. And that's what you see when the father leaves the
Wow.
home. It's not only chaos in the family, it's chaos in the whole society.
Yeah, I mean, as males, we're all born with this inherent desire for manliness, I think, in this adventurous type of hardwiring that we have. And if you don't have someone to help you harness that or show you the proper way to use it, you're out of control. It's chaos.
Yeah, you don't have and I think it's just like this. A mom will give you self-esteem, but it's really only a dad that puts you in positions, hopefully with him, to gain confidence, because confidence comes by doing something daring, something
That's
outside your
right.
comfort zone. And of course, the word confidence means with faith. So it's a man especially that establishes in their sons self-confidence. Self-esteem comes from your mommy, and that's why as a kid gets older, I remember my oldest son Jeremiah. I just remember my sons. I mean, they'd be out in the yard, we playing catch or surfing or something, and come in with a cut knee, and they'd be proud of it, you know. But now it's not so. It's kind of like to me too when I get a big wipeout and something bad, like I ripped my bicep loose a few years ago. I was thinking like I bear the marks of the sport I love, and
That's
we
right.
want to bear the mics. We want to bear the marks of Jesus Christ.
Yeah, no, that's such a cool way to think about it. Bearing the marks of what you love, and that goes the same with your family, with the church, with living out manly virtue as well. And you were talking um, about only fathers can really kind of give that confidence, to a boy. And I think also that's what helps show a boy what it is to be a man. And in order to really be a good man, to be a gentleman, as I think that was in that movie McClintock with John Wayne,
Yeah,
you first have to be a man, right? You have to
to be
be
a
a man to
gentleman,
be a gentleman.
yeah,
And,
right, right.
and it's so without having a real man, a real role model to help you harness
Yeah.
those manly virtues and your desire for strength and adventure and all those things, that to harness it in the right direction, man, it can go anywhere.
My dad was pretty much just trying to make a living, and to provide for us. So I didn't get to spend a lot of time with him. Very little father-son time. But I remember the moment that changed for me. I was still young. I might have been 7 or 8 or 9 years old, something like that. And someone was picking on me because I started school a year earlier. My dad was in the school system. He was eventually became assistant superintendent of schools. He got me in earlier, I think, just because my mom had two more babies after me, and she was just overwhelmed. But so I was always kind of the one getting picked on. And so my dad said, "Come here," and he held up his two hands. He sat down because I was so short, and he said, "Punch my hands." And I was, I don't want to hit you. I don't want to hit you. And he got really determined with me, not angry, but just determined. And I started crying. That little boy in me said, it was like, I'm going to hit you. I don't want to hit you. Or, and my tears were the breakthrough from the little boy becoming a young man. And those tears swept away, and to hit my dad's hand as hard as I could, which must have felt like a feather, it was like, okay, that's the breakthrough. Now you're responsible for yourself to deal with that bully. He said, people say the bully's always the easiest one to, his bark's bigger than his bite. Well, maybe not. You might just get punched out and lose. And then I remember years later, because this happened to me for years, and then suddenly I kind of grew into my body. But I remember in the backyard when I was a young father, the recollection of all the fighting that came my way, the bullies, and how I fought them and always lost. How the Lord said, "Does that make you a loser?" I felt the Holy Spirit say that to me. Does that make you a loser because you lost every fight? And God said, "No. You chose to fight when you knew you were going to lose, and that makes you not a loser. It makes you a fighter." And so I think men today know they're up against it, right? And they may have to fight for what they believe in, and they may not win, but they have to have that fighter mentality no matter what. And you're a warrior. You're a Navy helicopter pilot.
Yeah, that's funny, what you were saying but the Holy Spirit asking you if you thought you were a loser. Because I've had that same conversation with God, almost to a T, in the bucking chutes when I've ridden bulls, and I've had times where, but and broncs too, or I've climbed over the chute and I've already been injured, or I'm getting on an animal that nobody's ever been able to ride before, but I'm going to try anyway, right? And then I get bucked off. Maybe I get a little banged up. Maybe I get hurt, and afterwards, that feeling comes over me, and it's like, are you a loser for getting bucked off? You knew it was unlikely you were going to be able to win that battle. Are you a loser for that? And my prayer after, when I start feeling that way is Lord, please just let me know you're proud of me for overcoming my fear and trying. And lately, I'd say lately over the last few years, at least since we've talked over our last radio show, I've been praying that a lot. Like, Lord, let me know you're proud of me. And I think we can we can learn so much from that in how we father our sons too,
Mm.
because just letting a son know that you're proud of his efforts, you're proud of him trying to become a man, can make him a man.
There you
And
go.
and, and it's such a beautiful thing.
We're talking to Christopher Gokey, a bull rider, surfer, Navy helicopter pilot, and of course, the hardest thing he does in his life of all, golfing. Although he's taken a step back from that. Uh, Christopher Gokey will be right back with more of the Bear Woznick adventure. People love our EWTN TV show, Long Ride Home with Bear Woznick. Thanks to you, the show has won 4 different Tally Awards. And now, instead of waiting each week for the next episode to air, you can actually binge watch our show and even share it with your friends when you go to deepadventure.com and join the Mama Bears or the Man Cave. Along with all the other benefits, you get total access to all the seasons of our aired episodes, plus instant access to episodes that won't even air for several months. Long Ride Home with Bear Woznick, a great way to communicate the gospel in a gritty enough way that even tough men will stop and watch at deepadventure.com. Here is a YouTube video short, which is based on an excerpt from my newest book, 12 Rules for Manliness, Where Have All the Cowboys Gone? Jesus was not the type that gave up too easily, and God certainly doesn't give up on you. No matter how much you've blown it, don't give up. He hasn't. God most certainly has not given up on you. God is relentless in his love and his pursuit of you. You see, God is not going to rethink his intentions for you, even though you may have stumbled or you get stubborn and you kick against the goats. You know, we are all a bit of a construction project, and sometimes it just seems like Jesus is down there in our basement just digging a deeper and deeper and bigger hole for us. But remember this, the deeper the hole on a construction site, the deeper the foundation. Jesus is building a deep foundation in you so that the structure that he builds in your life will be tall and it'll rise up to God's glory and God's goodness and to the purpose that God has for you. Jesus is a master builder. Trust in him. Don't give up on him. He hasn't given up on you.
Be the kind of man that when he gets out of bed in the morning, the devil says, "Oh no, he's up." Go to deepadventure.com and invite Bear to speak.
Aloha, welcome back to the Bear Woznick Adventure. We have the annual Man Cave meetup taking place April 24th through the 26th in Melbourne Beach, Florida. We start on a Friday night with cigars and whiskey on the beach. And we basically, the whole retreat is on the beach. I hate to call it a retreat. I call it an advance. But we spend our time on the beach. You have private time to reflect and to journal different things. Like we may ask you to journal what it means to be a father, things like that. And then we have times of just us men just talking with each other. So the annual Man Cave meetup is in Melbourne. Go to our website, schoolofmanliness.com. And, you don't have to kind of like come up with a rationalization of why you should take the time from your family or why you should spend the money. This is an investment. It's not spending any time or spending any money. It's an investment of your time. It's an investment of your money. And bring your wife, maybe even bring some of the kids. But during the retreat itself, it's a no man's land. But the women can get together and do things. And for sure, if you're coming, if you have a son who's 14, 15, 16 years old, bring them. This is the Bear Woznick Adventure. My guest is Christopher Gokey, who's not a guest. He's a friend of mine. You were saying we were talking about some pretty profound things there as we left, how it's, I think it's another one of Louis L'Amour quotes that John Wayne spoke. You're born a boy, but you got to become a man.
Yeah.
And I was familiar with, there's someone I interviewed once that I kind of really made me feel kind of queasy. They had this thing about a rite of passage for the young boys. And it was like the uncles got together, the kid didn't know where he was going, and they went up camping and they go, you're old enough now, you're in the company of men. But that's not how that rite of passage really works. The rite of passage, I remember when I told my son, someday, Jeremiah, you're going to not just play in the shore break, you're going to paddle out with me where the bigger waves are. And when he showed up out there as like an 8-year-old, he was in the company of other men. And they didn't give him their respect, right? He earned their respect. A man doesn't give anything to another man. They you know what I mean? That you earn that. You earn that. And he's just coming out there and charging some of the waves. And it was so cool because I'm sitting there and I feel this presence next to me and I look over and there's my kid, not looking at me, but looking out to sea, but sitting right next to me. Of course, he ended up being someone who rode 85-foot waves. So, but talk more about that process of what it means to go from being a boy and becoming a man.
Yeah, well, I think you know, it's not you can be a boy and still be a full-grown adult. Like that process can happen at any point in your life, I think. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I mean, we hope it happens as a young boy in the company of good role models, hopefully a father, and that helps shape them into a man. But there could be portions of your life where you're still a boy and you don't really discover that until later in life, and you still need to be in the company of someone or a group of people that can help show you how to become a man in that area of your life. And I think back of yeah, when I first got into it to bull riding. I know that was a dream of mine since I was a little kid, but I didn't start till I was an adult. And I spent a weekend with some professionals, and they were real good instructors, and we were working through some drills over the weekend. Got on some really ranked stock, and kind of like what you were saying, you can't just be in the company of these people. You got to do it right, and
Yes.
and they didn't go and just throw me on some little steer or something. I mean, they had some pretty ranked stock in there, and I got my butt kicked and had some injuries. And after that weekend, I almost, for a brief moment, didn't feel satisfied with myself, or at least feel proud of myself. Um, but I remember picking up my rope and my gear on the last day, and I was walking out of
Wait a minute,
the
wait a minute,
arena.
wait a minute. That is the coolest thing you just said. Picking up my rope and my gear. I want to say that sometime. I mean, that's such a cowboy thing to say. That is
Well,
so cool.
come on out sometime. I'll take you to the bucking shoots. But so
I
anyway, so
don't
I
want
pick up
to, you know,
my gear and I'm walking out, and a lot of thoughts running through my head, and I was definitely dragging my leg a little bit. Had a pretty good limp going. I had some injuries, and this guy, CJ Brown was his name. He's a retired professional, and he just looked over at me as I was leaving, and his way of saying goodbye to me was he said, "Hey, great job this weekend, cowboy." And the way a man of that stature that I respected looked at me and essentially affirmed me as, "Hey, you're one of us," you
yeah,
know.
he called you
And
cowboy. Yeah,
yeah,
how cool.
and suddenly that limp in my leg, I wasn't sure if I had a limp in my leg or a bounce in my step after that, and that actually gave me the motivation to keep going, keep trying. And now,
Yeah.
12, 13 years later, I'm still trying to do it, still riding rough stock, and it's been a great journey.
And it's something that we got to remember for what we can say to the younger men. I say it at least once a day. I'll see a young man here in Waikiki, and I'll say I'm proud of him. I'll see him, especially when he has a little child or something. I'm looking for a chance to say I'm proud of him because there are a lot of men who have never had anybody say that to them. God the Father said that to Jesus. This is my son in whom I am well pleased.
Yes.
But speaking of I think most cowboys are not what's the percentage of riding a bull? Would it be like half the time, or it's like a baseball batter. If he hits it good 1 out of 3, if he fails 2 out of 3 times, he's considered an all pro. So, but my wife has told me once, there's nothing worse than a moody cowboy after a bad ride.
that that's that's true. Also depends on how much was on the line in that rodeo he was on.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
just doing there's all the pretty girls in the crowd, and you know what I
Uh,
mean?
well, that, and then also a lot of times that you're trying to get a win in order to get a paycheck out of it and pay your dues for the next rodeo.
Yeah, right. You got to have traveling money to get
Yeah.
there.
So that is a true statement that you never want to talk to a moody cowboy after a bad ride. Yeah.
I had a guy once call my office and ask my staff, does Bear take care of professional athletes? And she goes, well, yeah, he does. And he came in and was a bowler. Now, okay, boulders are cool, but
They are cool.
it's the only sport you can play and gain weight while you're playing it. Um, uh, but he had the same thing. He was a good bowler. He had made just enough money to go to the next tournament, and if he had a roommate, and he could do it that way. But the thing about growing from a boy to a man isn't just doing hard things is important. That's why it's good for a young man to play football or team sports are so good for young men. And also to do resistance training, do some weightlifting. You don't want to start them too early, but do some weight training. But the real thing is, the real hard thing that God is training him for is to take on responsibility. In Hawaii, we have that word kuleana. It's responsibility, your responsibility, the kuleana God has called you to, first of all, to take care of, be responsible for yourself to the extent possibly be self-reliant. I mean, that new guy in New York said, gone are the days of the tough, self-reliant man. And now the cold, self-reliant man, and now you can bathe in the warmth of collectivism. I just wanted to throw up because a man should to the extent possible be self-reliant. That doesn't mean isolated. And he certainly there's going to be times when when it's time for some teamwork or needs a brother just to carry him a bit. But right in the word it takes responsibility for a boy to grow into a man. Right in the word responsibility is the word response. You see a need and you respond to it. That's the definition of love. For God so loved the world that he sent his only son. He saw a need and he did something about it. And Aquinas says that love is willing the true good for the other. And St. John Paul II said, love is self-donation. So a man is someone that wills the true good for the other. That doesn't mean just, oh, I hope everything goes nice. Willing it means to participate in helping that happen. Responding to give someone responsibility. And then to do that through laying down your life. That's what a husband and a father does. We're going to take a quick break. We're talking with Christopher Gokey. Where are you living now these days? You're stationed in Florida, right?
Yeah, I'm in Tampa, Florida now. Yeah. Yep. So fairly warm weather most of the year, but we're actually having a cold snap right now.
Yeah, that's what I heard. So I know you'll come to the School of Manliness Man Cave meetup unless you're deployed somewhere as a Navy helicopter pilot.
Since you're calling me out on air, I guess I have to go now, huh?
Oh, you would? Yeah. Yeah, we're going to have a rodeo there. We're going to have surfboards. We're going to see people get bucked off on the surfboards. This is the Bear Woznick Adventure. We'll be right back with more. Deep Adventure Ministries is grateful to Notre Dame Federal Credit Union for underwriting the Bear Woznick Adventure on EWTN. Notre Dame Federal Credit Union provides car loans, mortgages, SBA loans, and depository accounts nationwide, as well as 24-hour support. Go to deepadventure.com to find their link, or go to NotreDameFCU.com. Mahalo to Notre Dame Federal Credit Union for making the Bear Woznick Adventure possible. Here is a YouTube video short, which is based on an excerpt from my newest book, 12 Rules for Manliness, Where Have All the Cowboys Gone? How a man treats a woman defines him. You see, a man is made of mud. He's just physically more powerful and stronger, and in other ways too. Though a woman may be strong in many ways, a man, if he chooses to, usually dominate her. That's why I say how a man treats a woman defines him. He may show respect to a bigger, stronger man or to his boss, but how does he treat the woman in his life? In fact, even though he may not have even met his woman, his bride-to-be yet, is he still faithful and devoted to her in all of his actions? How does he treat his mom, his sisters, his co-workers, his classmates, his restaurant server, the girl that he's on a date with? This defines him as a man. How you think of, speak of, and treat a woman is the litmus test that proves the durable love you have as a good man.
Still listening? I thought we warned you to change to an easy listening station. Well, you asked for it. Here is more of the Bear Woznick Adventure.
Aloha, welcome back to the Bear Woznick Adventure. I want to remind you that the TV show, Long Ride Home with Bear Woznick, our motorcycle based immersive reality show, award winning show that first aired on EWTN and every now and then is re aired. We have 4 seasons, 33 episodes, all on Prime Video. And so, I mean, if you watch the first little bit of the first, well, actually, the very first episode starts with us riding through a hurricane on motorcycles. And the last season is all filmed in Hawaii. So I invite you to go check out Long Ride Home with Bear Woznick on Prime Video, especially if you have young men in your household or your brother-in-law's coming over who needs maybe a kind of a something to get his attention to draw him closer to the Lord. And you'll enjoy. Long Ride Home is it's we just rode and let God do stuff and God would show up. And we also have a few real funny instances, little skits that we do that are kind of fun. We're talking with my friend Christopher Gokey. We were talking about how a young boy becomes a man. Tell me about the the need for brotherhood.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I think as as you become a man, I think it's very easy to become so self-reliant that you want to isolate yourself. I
Mm,
struggle with that even now, all the time. My tendency is to isolate myself and try to take care of everything on my own, and including my spiritual life.
mm.
And but we're called to brotherhood, and we see that through scriptures and through Jesus and his brothers and his his disciples, that coming together and uh, sharing that faith together and growing together in manhood, manly virtue in Christ, in the sacraments together, has a way more powerful effect than just sitting back on your own trying to do it by yourself.
I've seen you go through some tough times in your life. I'm not going to get in the details of it. I've seen you have some real uphill climbs. I can think of two or three. Uh, and you weathered the storm, but wasn't it good to have brothers that encouraged you during that time?
Yeah, and encouragement from brothers is really important, because if you don't have encouragement from someone else, you'll formulate it, maybe the opposite in your own head, right? Satan will come in their place. You don't have the voices of your brothers. Satan will come in its place, and those demons will be giving you the opposite of encouragement. They'll be discouraging you
Yes.
and trying
Yeah.
to hold you down. And
Yeah.
in order to drown out the negative voices, you need brotherhood.
Beautiful. Really, really well said. Yeah. And men can go to a bar and, drink a beer and tell their troubles to the bartender, who's not going to have anything good for them, or go to a psychiatrist who can, psychologists. I mean, they're some of them are good, some of them are really dangerous, actually. Um, and you can confess your sins to him, but you don't get absolution. You need the church and you need your brothers to strengthen you. What's interesting to me is when I was a young man, I didn't want anybody to know I was broke or that I was going to having trouble making the next rent payment for my family. I didn't want anybody to know I struggled in any way. But as I grew older, I realized, man, all these problems, everybody has the same challenges. We're all bozos on the same bus, We're all knuckle draggers. That's why I think our school of manliness, we have a man cave. It's a non-Facebook community of men where Chris will post, or we have a ramrod, Brad Rushmore, that posts every day, and we have that dialogue, and then we have the ongoing school of curriculum that comes out once a week on early Saturday mornings, where I'm envisioning men getting up early on Saturday and having that time with the Lord, and then the daily catechism comes out. But it's that call to brotherhood that we get our strength. There's a word in Hawaiian, imua, and it doesn't just mean, oh, I love that coffee cup. Is that a cowboy boot on it?
Yeah,
What is
it
that?
is. Yeah.
Oh
Um,
man.
that's a good coffee cup, and the coffee's good. This, bull riding has led me to so many places, and I met some really, really great people at the national finals. And this is their coffee. So my good friend Chayla makes cowboy coffee,
Yeah.
and oh, she's great. And not necessarily to here to to put a plug out there or anything, but
Is that
she's
the name
a
of it?
great Christian
Cowboy.
woman. This is her cowboy coffee. I order it
Well,
from her.
what, Well, let me see it again. I want some. I used to make cowboy coffee like in my cabin in Montana. I would just put the grains of coffee in a hot, scalding hot water and just stir it because
Yeah. You can get it in K cups too. It's lhcoffeebarandsaloon.com. If you go on there, you can order it. And it's actually the best coffee I've ever had. So,
well, I might have to do that.
it,
You
it,
know,
it,
here,
yeah,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Do you
I was
remember
just
were
saying
you
she's a great Christian woman, and it's really been a joy being able to meet so many great people through bull riding and through my faith.
now
So
there's something about they say about UFC fighters, and I think it's true of bull riders and so many of them actually become conservative in their values because they've learned about being self-reliant. You know, even when you're wrestling Olympic size, Olympic type wrestling or things like that, or in the martial arts, you go a path of resistance, a certain amount of courage, and when you're out, like when they say when it's big, you're always alone when the surf is big.
oh
Because
wow.
it
Yeah.
separates you, it separates the lineup. And then if you're in trouble, no one's going to be able to get to you, at least not in a hurry. So there
Yeah.
is something about that bull riding community. That's a lot of strong Christians in that community.
There are, but I will attest when you're surfing and you get a hold of a decent wave, you do feel alone, and I definitely feel alone because normally I'm getting swallowed up is what that means because I'm not that great of a surfer, as you know, and when that happens and you're in the wash, nobody's coming to save you.
Yeah, they can't.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're going through a long hold down. What do you do you know what I do? I go to my happy place during the long hold down.
Do
I
you
just
really? What's your happy place?
well, I go into the fetal position so my bicep doesn't get torn loose again. No, actually, all I do is I just start counting. Sometimes now I'll say the Hail Mary, and usually I can't get through a whole Hail Mary without coming up again. But
Sure. Yeah.
I just start counting. But there is that I think there's something in that helps men to become if it's not isolated and self-reliant, but it's kuleana, that this is your responsibility. And for a man, his responsibility goes way out beyond the walls of his home. A woman, especially in the traditional sense, that's her kuleana is she brings a certain mood and joy into the home. She cares for the family in so many of their needs and waves. And there's nothing like a man coming home to a peaceful, ordered environment after him being out there doing his kuleana, which is to go out there and face the world. I'm not saying that women don't do that too, but a man needs to be able to. His kuleana is big. Take care of himself, take care of his community, take care of his children. And so we need. What does the word fellowship means? It means all fellows in the same ship. And you see the outrigger canoes out here, right? In the evenings, they've got 10-man canoes and they're saying, "Holy, all paddle together strong," and they're paddling in union. Um, that's what we need to be as men. Is every man should be in a men's group of some form, and not just uh, where you actually get gritty and real with each other.
Mm. Yeah, I think that's exactly what we do in the man cave.
Yeah.
And I haven't actually been to the annual meetup yet. I hope I can go this time because I can only imagine just how we break that open even deeper, probably in person.
Yeah.
But we have some pretty good conversations even over our virtual. I guess we don't use Zoom, whatever platform that is that we have our meetups on. We get some pretty good stuff going there.
Yeah. The importance of brotherhood. And so if you don't have a men's group, start one. You know what a men's group is? It consists of 3 people that have breakfast every Friday morning early, or maybe you want to have actual Bible studies type thing, and you can get 6 to 7 or 8 or 9 or even 12 people. But a men's group, if you don't have a men's group in your area, well, isn't that your kuleana to start one? And you just need 2 other people, and you've got a men's group, and that's all you need is. I know I love Father. I know you do too, Father Bryce Lundgren, Wyoming Catholic
No, I
Cowboy.
love that guy. Yeah.
And his book is the Catholic Cowboy Way. But he said, if I was riding over the range with my buddy Zeke, and I said, Zeke, we need to be more open and vulnerable with each other. Within a moment, he would be over the ridge and beyond the next mountain, because no guy wants to hear that. But if I said, Zeke, we need to get more gritty and real, okay, that's what men need to be, gritty and real. Because with that, with other men, there's a way in which God flows through you, Christopher, to me when you're encouraging me and praying me. And guess what? He flowed, that special grace really flows in you, so you get that blessing. And then how God inspires you to encourage, I receive the blessing. So that flow of wisdom and love and encouragement between the men and challenging each other builds up not just the person who's giving that encouragement is built up too. So anyway, we've run out of time, Chris. I'm sure you got bulls. You got to go ride. We've been talking with Christopher Gokey. Thanks for being on the show, Chris.
Yeah, it was good to see you again, Bear. And I look forward to hopefully seeing you this spring out there in Melbourne.
And Cindy says, "How's Chris doing?" And we got to get him we got to get you a good woman. And she's always always on the look.
I dearly love Cindy. I miss her. She was great. Yeah.
Yeah, she is awesome. Okay, will you do aloha with me? Until next week, may the breath of the Holy Spirit aloha you. Aloha.
Thanks for listening to the Bear Woznick Adventure. Find more manly conversation at the Bear Woznick Deep Adventure YouTube channel. Subscribe and ring the bell.